Hi, I'm Kiwi,
And I'm Jared.
and we are the two gentlemen coming to you from my lounge room in my pajamas.
They look nice. They
Thanks,
look
Jared.
really nice. The matching pajamas really suit you.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. How are you, mate?
Good, good, good. Yeah. No real concerns on my end. I'm
Good.
going through life and doing what we do at the moment. But yeah, yourself.
Yeah, I'm really good. I'm really good. And look, I've been thinking about a lot of positive things lately. And something that stuck with me was when we were 14, we played this game of open age rugby league.
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah, that was the one that we mentioned in the past where you split your eye open. Now,
Mm.
I actually didn't go to the tryouts to, even expect to get a spot in the 17, but
Yeah.
I ended up starting at hooker. And at half
Yeah.
time, the coach was ripping into us, and his words stuck with me, even though I was so young. He said, "Kiwi's the only one out there doing any tackling."
Yeah.
And just keep in mind, smallest, youngest guy out there. And I've been, I've been not put on the field before because a coach has thought I was too small. And this coach is telling everyone I'm the only one out there doing any tackling. And that was one of those moments in my life that I never forgot. And it really kind of made me.
Yeah.
I've always identified with, positive things, but that in particular, it was one of those moments in my life where I was like, okay, this is who you are. You
Yeah.
are a tough little tenacious guy. You're like a dog with a bone. You don't let go. And,
Yeah.
your appearance is deceiving. You might be tiny, but, you've got heart. And I've always been told that. And it really formed a huge part of my identity. I was wondering, do you have anything like that, Jared, where there was a moment where maybe it was a coach or some sort of experience really shaped you?
Firstly, I want to touch on the fact that you can tackle anything that moves. I don't know how you go these days, but I remember people would pick you out in a line and just be like, okay, I'm running this guy. And even now I'm watching these old videos, I can see them. They're pointing at you and you just drop them. Like these guys are like double your size. So it wasn't a one-off fluke game. I mean, it was something that you obviously, I mean, we're only 14 at that point, weren't we, when you did
Yeah.
that? But, as we play a few more years of football, you prided just, yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You pride in that, and you molded your game around that, and I think once someone ran at you a couple of times, they realized they weren't getting past. So, and even if they did, you sort of tackled them from behind. So even if they did manage to get away, but yeah, no, that's and that would have taken a lot too. You would have seen me after 2 minutes hemorrhaging from my face after tackle a big unit who drove to the game and was shaving in the car on the way. And we were 14, but yeah, that's one of that was my first ever. I played football since I was 7, and it was one of my first, not my last, but my first ever, real stitches kind
Yeah,
of injury.
wow.
It was a good one too, because I think my dad turned up just as I was walking off the field, and we were wearing light blue jerseys because we borrowed them from a surrounding school or something. We didn't have our own jerseys, and I remember the coach, one of the coaches or one of the teachers was like, "Oh man, we've got to give that jersey back." That's blood. And sorry to anyone with a queasy stomach, but yeah, it was a fair knock. So that's probably why I'm a little bit short of a few brain cells. So that's a defining moment for me. Oh look, I can't for the life of me think of a moment. Now things started to flood to me when you mentioned your that moment for you. But in reality, like I can't sort of say that had a massive, massive effect. Like I can say, I had moments that kind of added, and the way people, I think I carried whatever I did, and again, we're talking about sport, and it's something that we've loved doing as kids, and I love doing it now as an adult. So, but how I conduct, that was where I was most comfortable, right?
Yep.
So how I conducted myself on the field, I started to bring that into life. And so those moments on the field and those moments with teammates and those moments with things that you forget more than you actually remember, but they're somewhere in the mind. They're somewhere in the mind, and I think as a whole, just my experiences, my childhood experience sort of shaped me. And I know that's a real cop out of an answer. I'm sorry, but like I don't have anything that really, really sticks out. I mean, I may get prompted. You may be talking. I'll be like, "Hey, stop! I got to say." But that's just the way it is for me, unfortunately, or the way it is for me.
So you say your childhood experiences in general shaped you, but there's this identity that you have, that you, a person that you identify with every day of your life. For example, when we talked about things in the past, you said that, you didn't want to be a teacher because you saw yourself as this big guy. So you see yourself in a particular light. And I guess I'm just trying to explore, what makes us see ourselves a certain way? What puts us in those behaviors? And for me, it's just funny that so many of them are sports related. It's hilarious. And, another one was, I was in this martial arts class, and there was a specific class that was purely for sparring. So it was a Saturday night class. You only went there to spar. You warm up on the pads, and then it's just round after round of fighting guys. And I was paired up with this guy who wanted to become an amateur boxer. And, I did very well against him. And I remember very distinctly my instructor just looking at me and going, if you believed in yourself, you would be unstoppable. And this is before I had corrective eye laser surgery, so I couldn't even see properly. I was either sparring with contacts in or just going blind. Yeah, right. So that stuck with me as well. And it made me realize how much self-belief I needed to achieve my goals in life. And my big goal is to become a writer. So, but I've never had that same sort of feeling in the arts. As a sportsman, I always felt like I could get in there and hold my own in most sports that I chose. Yeah. But in the arts, I haven't had that. So, with you've said off the field in social situations, you certainly don't carry the same authority that you had on the field, do you?
No, that's right. Yeah. And it sort of, again, just prompting me. And it reminded me of when you said you got in the ring with an amateur or a boxer trying to be amateur. I mean, I actually took up boxing myself at some point, and I did it for 18 months. And before, I was never there to become a fighter. I was there for fitness, but it was being trained as a fighter. So it wasn't anything, boxer size or anything like that. Yeah. It was a genuine sort of, gym, fighting gym. And within 2 or 3 months, I was in the ring with guys in the same situation because, and I look back at things like whatever I kind of put my head and tried, I always became pretty good at. I put it down to everything, like every sport I've ever done, the ones we've talked about a lot, the rugby and the rugby league, but even the other ones I do, on the side. Yeah. There's heaps of them, but I always became pretty good. Yeah. But I never excelled. I mean, this is probably a sad story now. But I feel like I'm on the couch and need to, express my feelings to you. But I never actually took that next step. And people used to say same sort of stuff. Like, if you feel confident or put your head down and trained harder, then, you would have made it, or you can make it further or whatever, right? But, I suppose that carrot wasn't enough for me to go, well, I'm going to put my life on hold to be something that I don't even know I want to be it. So being in that position, I guess, being pretty good at most things I do, I then have to carry that, like you said, you have trouble bringing it over to the arts. You want to carry that in. You've set that bar for yourself. So you want to be able to be pretty good at everything you do. It doesn't to remove sport. So I hope I'm I hope I'm better than pretty good at dad, and I hope I'm pretty good at my job. And I feel confident as I get older in things like that. Like we discussed, I've had that confidence on the sporting field, but as you get older, you experience things and you get more confident in other aspects. And this is one of them. Sitting here with a microphone in front of me.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'm a pretty good podcaster. No.
Well, you are, but how important has it been to get that external feedback, to give you that extra reinforcement that, you keep going, that extra encouragement? And something I'm getting out of this conversation is, sure, we're all born with something and we can see it ourselves. For example, you just go out there and you find out that you're a good football player. You look in the mirror and you say, I'm a unit, I can handle this. For me, it was getting on the field and being faster than other guys, having better footwork than other guys, boxing and being able to, slip punches and hit well against guys that were way bigger than me. But there is an element where we need that external input, isn't there? So I feel that it's just so important that you do have good mentors around you. And as a man, we really need good men around us, don't we?
Yeah, definitely. And, it's, I don't know why it just came to my head then, but like the whole external, those influences that, let you know that you're in the right path, or if you keep doing this, you'll get here. And just reminded me, I don't know why, it just reminded me of like, as a kid, I used to play table tennis against like when I was 12, I wanted a table tennis table, ping pong table. And Dad, for my birthday, they got it for me. So I come home from school and there it was, and it was under the carport, on my old house, in front of the garage there. And I walked down the driveway and I'm like, I never left this thing. And, I remember like when Dad couldn't play, he was busy or whatever. He'd play a lot, but he'd always beat me. And then, then he'd keep telling me, just keep going, do this, do that. And then it was, then I'd you can fold it in half. So essentially you're hitting it against a wall, but that wasn't as fun because, like put the spin on it and would go the wrong way. But as soon as you had that other person there telling you this and that, and then, I finally beat him. And that was, he would probably never admit it, but he probably doesn't remember it, but I remember it. It was a warm spring day. But, those sort of things, like having someone there to tell you, don't worry, keep going. Like, but to still, say, I think it's a dad thing too, to beat you until not beat, sorry.
Not with his belt.
You will become a better. But it just reminded me of that because hitting against the wall ain't any fun, but when you got someone there you and explaining to you, that to me is much better. Yeah, for sure. You mentioned that in the past that you wanted to become a coach at some stage. One of our friends, my legendary friend that I referred to, sent me this YouTube link. And it was this rant from an Aussie rules coach. I don't know if you've heard it. I don't know at what age group it was directed at, but he mentioned buying drinks for them and they were soft drinks. So I'm guessing they were pretty young kids. And the things he was saying, Erica heard it and she was like, my goodness, that, how can you expose kids to this sort of thing? Like, I was laughing my head off because I always see the funny side of things, but she was right. And I mean, I'd hate my kids to be mentored by a man like that, to handle loss like that, adversity like that by losing your head. And but it just showed to me the importance of having strong men around you who are also reasonable and have, their emotions in check. Isn't it funny? And you talk about coaches, and I was just thinking back at the coaches we had when we were 14 and 15. And I'm not going to mention names because, but these, I don't know if I'm going to do it justice by explaining, but these guys were not the most desirable of humans. If I look back now, I'm like, I can't believe they let these humans run around with and nothing. I
believe they let them out of jail.
But just like literally, like, wow, they were bad.
But here's the
You
thing,
know, they
Jared.
were
You
the
and I,
bottom of the barrel. But at the time, they were our coach, and I was like, "Oh yeah, he can." Yeah, there's a reason why he wears his football shorts above his track pants. You know, like, I don't know. But like, I know that's probably just an in joke by me and Kiwi, but it's just, you know, like there was questionable decisions that were made at some point there.
it's funny you mentioned that particular coach. I got the coach's award that year. So I don't know what that says about me. But the year after that, we played. It was under 16s, and I don't know if this is too explicit for our podcast, but I will mention this bit. He wasn't our coach, but he was one of the assistants, and he said to some of our guys, "Oh, look, you're 16. You should be sinking piss and rooting Sheilas."
Yeah,
that's what he said. And you and I, we weren't in that particular culture. We were like, okay, we kind of. I wouldn't say knew better, but we certainly weren't influenced by it. But to think that someone thought that was an appropriate thing to say to 16-year-old kids who were fairly impressionable, who probably want to do that sort of stuff anyway. And, in the socioeconomic area that we were playing in, that would have gone down pretty well, I imagine. And a lot of 16-year-olds were already doing that, judging by the high teen pregnancy rates out that way. But I would be horrified if my boys played on a team with coaches that were saying stuff like that.
I know. It's I didn't remember that till then, but I do remember sitting in the sheds and that happening. And I would probably say that 75% of the guys that were there were even more. Like, let's say there was 20 guys there. I reckon there was probably us and a couple that were like, "Oh, that's interesting," but the others were like, "Yep, that's right." We're cheering and and I'm like, 15-year-old kids, like. And to have an adult who was essentially looking out for you, and by no means am I saying these guys were they wanted to do it and they wanted to coach these kids, and they did it with passion, and it wasn't like they wouldn't look out for you or anything like that. It was just sometimes the delivery was different to what we're used to. I can't imagine my dad saying that to me, sitting down and going, "You know what, you should be," and I'm like, "Oh." But I didn't sit there and go, "Oh, I'm offended."
No, not at all, and I'm still not offended.
Yeah, not even now. Yeah, that's right. But you're right. It's sort of like now the shoes on the other foot, and you're like, "Oh, well, my boy is like, this is for you, but my boy's only 3 years from that." And you think, wow, what if he's playing, is that still around? Or is that, if I go to a different sport or a different thing, do they talk differently? Was it just that area? Well, you can't control it, it's
No, you can't. And look, we're laughing about it. By the way, you were exaggerating earlier when you said we had 20 guys there. There's no way we had more than 5 guys at training. Let's be honest, Jared.
We were a good team.
There's a reason why we were battling for the wooden spoon against Cambridge Park that year, I remember. But look, it's just, as men, we really need to step up, don't we? Because a lot of this stuff, it rubs off on the next generation. Yeah. You and I, we knew better simply because we had really good parents. We were really lucky in that. And, I'm sure if my kids were in that situation, sure, I'd be disappointed in the coaches, but I'm sure my son's actually sitting next to me now and he'd be laughing this off. Yeah. None of this would bother him at all. And
you're saying you feel comfortable to know that you've taught him, you and Erica have taught him to, everyone's different too, people grow up in, people have different backgrounds and things like that. So what's acceptable, in that household isn't necessarily acceptable in the others and all that sort of stuff. So that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm not worried at all. And, if my eldest son or even my youngest were to be exposed to somebody like that, a coach or whatever, some sort of person in a position of authority saying things like that, I personally wouldn't worry because I know that they'd be okay. But, it's not the best thing either. And I think if I were in charge of a bunch of 15-year-old kids, I certainly wouldn't be going in that direction.
But the reality is that they will run into someone like that.
Yeah.
And that's life. That's the big bad world. So as dads, we've got to train and help our kids be there for them if they do experience it, and explain it to them. And it's all part of growing up, isn't it? You know, like you said, you use the words, and I don't know if you meant it, but you just used it in the conversation just then about we knew better. I don't know. Well, I think it was more we knew better. We just kind of went off. It didn't sink into us, put it that way. So
yes, it didn't affect us.
So,
we weren't influenced by that.
We weren't sitting there above everybody going, "Oh well, we know better." But it wasn't like we weren't taking every word in.
No,
but there was kids in that dressing room or in that field that
they were going, "Oh, so that's what I've been doing wrong."
Right. Okay, that's it. So yeah, I must say that was a bit of a culture shock to some degree, and you know, we definitely weren't raised in the highest level of society. You know, like we were in a pretty rough sort of area, but we ended up playing in a rough area as well, and it was just a bit of it was like, oh, okay, this is how it's done, eh?
I had a conversation with my cousin a few years ago. She's 2 years younger than us. And she grew up in a pretty rough area as well. I mean, there were drive-by shootings where she lived. Like, no kidding. And, you know, it was a bit of a joke, in our families, because, you know, we grew up in a fairly, I wouldn't call our area rough. We lived in a pretty good neighborhood as well.
Yeah, we did.
But, you know, in her street, she had drive-by shootings. And, but she said she wouldn't have it any other way. She was happy with her upbringing. And, you know, I was thinking of all the suburbs in Sydney I'd like to raise my kids in. And she was like, really? You'd want to raise them in that suburb? You know, like everything would be too easy for them. And her sister has gone on to become, you know, a really, really successful fashion designer not fashion designer, but she's involved in design and that sort of thing in America. She's done so well. And she came from this tiny little suburb that had drive-by shootings. And it kind of made her, you know, and she brings that with her, and it gives her that sort of toughness. And talking about defining things, something that I bring with me everywhere is that I was born in a refugee camp, and I wear that as a badge of honor. You know, it made me. It really did, and it's something I feel like, you know, it's where I get my spirit from. I look at you know, any other expectant mother, and they said, oh, you know, if I wanted my kid to turn out, you know, really tough and resilient, what do you think I should do? I wouldn't say, well, you should go to a refugee camp and give birth there. That's not what I'm saying at all. You know, I'm very lucky that my kids were born in a very good hospital here in Sydney, same one as their mother, actually, which is really sweet. But like I said, for my spirit, I feel like I draw on these experiences, and I've built up this identity of, you know, someone who's, you know, I don't want to sound like too wanky, but, you know, it's that warrior spirit. You know, that I can handle things, that I can get through things. And no matter what comes at me, like, my attitude is, okay, how do I beat this? Not, oh gosh, you know, this is too much for me. It's how do I get to the next step? So that's where I started this episode, Jarad, asking those questions. And that's really stuck with me. So yeah, I feel like I come from a family of survivors. You know, we've got through a lot, and, you know, we're all here and we're all happy. That's the other thing. And we're still together. We still, you know, all of us kids talk to each other. You know, we're in contact with my parents all the time. So, that's what I carry with me. And that forms such a core of my identity, you know, that foundation. That's
some amazing words. Yeah, you're right. It's, you do have that warrior armor, I think. And I think part of it, you know, we sort of led here eventually. Part of it is, you know, like, how we grew up, and you know, you got to the area where I grew up a different way than I did, but you know, it's a little bit of a badge of honor. I don't look at it as a I don't want to say the words. I'm not ashamed of where I came from, and you know, it's cliche, but you know, it's a badge of honor for me. I was talking to a mate of mine, a school friend of ours, that said the same thing, you know, like, since he's been, you know, since we've grown up and we've all moved on from the area and, you know, traveled or working in, you know, more higher end parts of the city or wherever, right? You know, he goes, he keeps it in his back pocket, you know, it's a bit of he'll bring it out if he needs to. And then it's sort of, you know, it's a bit of a well, yeah, they sort of say, oh, you grew up there. Wow. Like it's some kind of, ghetto or something. But, for us, it was home. And I'm not sitting here saying that we, like, my goodness, there's so many worse places in this country or the world that struggle socially, with money and things like that. And our area was nowhere near that. But
no way.
Definitely, I want to state that, but it was definitely not the prettiest part of Sydney.
Yep.
And it definitely holds a little bit of a I can't think of the word, but a little bit of a sort of you might be able to help me with this one.
A sense of home.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I would say it has, like, people have an opinion on it, without even kind of being there.
Oh, okay, sure.
So it sort of holds that.
Yeah.
For us, it's home. But
yeah,
I feel safer walking around those streets than I do in other streets around Sydney that I shouldn't be worried about.
Yeah. Well, my parents still live there in the house I grew up in, and my kids love going there.
Yeah.
So look, it's home to me, and it's really made me who I am. That upbringing.
It did. It's funny. It just reminded me your parents still live there. So when I moved out with my wife, and we bought a house, and then we sold and bought some land, and in between the build of the house that we were building, we had to find somewhere to live. And 2 doors down from where I grew up was a small, like, granny flat, and we're only going to be there for 9 months or something. So I was like, you know what, this is cheap, it's brand new, it's in the neighborhood, like literally 2 houses from where I grew up. I knew exactly how it was all gonna, and it was cool to go back there just for that period of time. So we could have picked anywhere in Sydney, like we could have found something cheap, and knowing that it wasn't forever, it was just a stopgap. But I ended up picking 2 doors down from where I grew up, so I must have a soft spot.
Yeah, there's nothing like home, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And this definitely isn't downtown Kabul. I just want to make that clear.
I know.
Where we grew up.
That's what I tried to say. I wanted to try and say it, but yeah.
But bad things did happen, and God, I remember walking along the street with my girlfriend one night, and I got egged from a passing car. I thought, for some reason, I just thought she slapped me on the back as a joke. Like, it hurt that much. I was like, what the heck? And then I touched my back, and it was like covered in egg. And this is just another night in that suburb.
You straight. Yeah, it wasn't even like a, oh, let's get Kiwi kind of thing. It was just, let's just get it, dude.
Exactly. Well, I'm glad it was me and not her. But geez, that hurt. But look, this is just how it was, and these things, forge your identity, don't they? And I'm glad for all the experiences I've had, and just feeling tough out of it. There's this funny story. I was just thinking of all the there's a lot of racial sledges that go on in football, and I probably shouldn't say this is funny, but it's just for us how blasé that sort of thing is. We're walking. I remember this game we played. It was a tens competition in rugby. And there was a boys' school, and we're playing the away game there. We're walking through the school, and there were people hanging out the window yelling racial slurs at me. And we just looked up and just thought, oh my God, what have we walked into? And we won the game, by the way. And I need to put this out there. It was my defense at fullback that won the game for us. They had this really, really big dude who got through the line twice, and I dropped him both times. But anyway, but that was just.
I thought we touched on the fact that you could tackle, but yeah, bring it up again. Go for it.
I actually remember our coach saying, "Geez, you won that game for us." But
of course he did. Yeah, it wasn't.
It wasn't Jarad and his 5 tries. But I'm not trying to trivialize racism or any sort of racial abuse at all. But geez, back in our day, it was just there. It just happened, and I guess I just brushed it off. It was just one of those things that, people don't like me, how I look.
They're going to have a crack at me no matter what.
That's just how it is, and I'm just going to get on with my life. And I'm not trying to trivialize it, like I said, for anyone else, and I feel really bad for all the people who experience that. But back in our day, it was just it was just the thing that you just cop and move on.
got on with it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's sad to think it was like that, and many years before us probably were a lot, definitely worse.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I never got beaten up or anything.
Yeah. But that again toughens you up to a certain degree. As long as you've faced that and realised for what it was, and it was just angry young adolescents just grabbing the first thing that they thought was going to hurt you.
Yeah, exactly.
That's and again, trivializing is not. I don't want to, and I hope I haven't. But that's to me was what it was.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's I look back on those days really fondly. Actually, it was a bit of a welcome to the jungle sort of feel.
Yeah.
It's like we were in the heat of battle and we won, and we actually won that tens competition. I remember it was actually one of our great mates who won it with his kicking game. And anyway, I don't want to go into sport too much, but those little moments, and I guess I just wanted to bring up those things that make us and forge our identity. And like you said, it toughened me up, but it didn't toughen me up in a way where I was bitter at the world. I don't walk around going, oh man, the world's so racist. And I just think, what, these things happen in life and I can laugh it off. And I'm fortunate enough that I'm secure enough in who I am that I can do that. I've never felt like a victim. And I think that's really important for me, that mentality that I'm a tough guy, not a victim.
Yeah.
And I don't mean tough guy as in, one of those guys that, walks around like he's, got his chest out all the time. I don't mean it like that at all. I just mean that, hey, I can handle life.
I mean, you are wearing matching pajamas and, you are, well, maybe that is a tough thing. Maybe that, I was going to suggest maybe you aren't the tough guy, but maybe that comfortable that you can wear your matching PJs. And
well, I don't use fabric softener, so I am pretty tough. So.
Really?
Yes.
Really? Quite the revelation.
Jarad, it's been a pleasure exploring how we became the men that we are with you, and can't wait for the next episode.
Yeah, me too, mate. It's been awesome.
Thanks, Jarad.
Thanks, mate. Bye.